Welcome to the CheckBox Pro Series. Leading a school is meaningful work, but it can also feel isolating. In each episode, I, Missy Couch, sit down with a school leader to talk honestly about the important and challenging work they're doing. My hope is that you leave feeling more connected and equipped with practical resources that help sustain your career. Today's guest is Dr. James Mosley, Superintendent of Yellowstone Schools in the 3rd Ward of Houston, Texas. James brings nearly 20 years of experience in education and a deep belief that every student is born with purpose and can achieve great things. Although he grew up in a family of educators, James was determined to take a different path until a few powerful words of affirmation during his first year in the classroom changed everything. Since then, he's never looked back. In our conversation, James shares what it really takes to lead a complex organization, from communicating clearly across multiple stakeholders, including 2 separate boards, to building systems and teams that can actually execute on a shared vision. It's an honest look at leadership, growth, and the power of staying grounded in purpose. Here's my conversation with Dr. James Mosley. Hi, James.
Hello, Missy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Another day of living the dream.
Living the dream as a school leader and a dad of littles. It's just never stops. It never stops. I love it. Well, thanks so much for agreeing to be on my podcast.
Absolutely.
So
I'm
fun.
honored to be here. You're a rock star, Missy. Let me just say for all your viewers, Missy is a rock star. She is awesome. She has really helped me and my organization tremendously beyond what words in this podcast can express.
Oh, that's very kind. And listeners, just know that I paid him to say that. No, I know, because I was like trying to think. I've known you now for, because when did you?
4 years, 4 years
Has
now.
it been? Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while. It's so fun. I love it. I feel like
It goes by
it's
really
really
fast.
fun being in. What'd you say? It's what? It goes
It
fast?
goes by really fast this
I
time.
know. Oh yeah. Yeah. You blink and all of a sudden you're like, what happened? No, what's so fun about my job is I feel like this really deep connection to all these different schools and people. And one, sometimes haven't ever walked their halls. I have at Yellowstone, like I have seen y'all's school. And I've been fortunate to meet you in the flesh a couple times. But like, I just feel like, oh, I get to just piggyback off all this great work people are doing. I get like a front row seat. This is living the dream.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah, it's fun. So, okay, James, I have told our listeners a very high level bio of you, right? Like something that they could read off of LinkedIn. But you have been in education for a really long time. You're doing really great work over at Yellowstone, which is in Houston for our listeners who aren't familiar. Really unique model of school there. But before we kind of get into like what you're currently doing and where you're at and all the challengings and the good and all that, I would love for you to just tell our listeners how it is that you got into education. I think the origin stories are just so fun to hear, and it just really grounds people into like understanding who the leader is today based on kind of where they came from. So tell us.
Yeah, origin stories. So, education was not my first choice, which that may be true for a lot of leaders in this business at this point. But I grew up in a family of educators. My mom, who is almost 80 years old, is still working in school. She's retired about 3 times now, but she is at work right now as an interventionist at a middle school. You know, aunts were teachers. My mom's closest friends are all teachers. And so I grew up in a family of educators. And as a result of that, I was like, I don't want to work in education. Like, I want to do something very different. And so, growing up, I was like, I want to go to law school. I want to be a lawyer. Like that was the thing that I wanted to do. And so as I got older, before I graduated high school, one of my mom's best friends said to me, when you go to college and you graduate, like make sure you get a emergency teacher certification because you never know. You never know. You may want to teach. You may decide. And I was like, Miss Blake, thank you, but no thanks. So went to college, studied political science. The goal was to go to law school after college. I had a few jobs when I graduated. I was working a job while I was studying for the LSAT, and the job was so unfulfilling. Like, I worked a lot of crazy hours and just was not fulfilled by the job, and still was in this place of didn't have my stuff all the way together to be going right off to law school. So I needed to work. And I just remember, going home one day and being like, I don't want to go back to this job anymore. Maybe I should look into teaching. So I looked into teaching. I applied to a ton of charter schools. One school called me back. I went on an interview. They hired me. I enrolled in a emergency teacher certification program and started teaching in Southwest Houston at this really small charter school. I taught sixth grade ELA and social studies, and I was still prepping, for the LSAT. And my mentor teacher, my first year, she came to me and was like, "Hey, James, I know this law school thing is important to you. You really want to do it. I just believe you're going to lead a school one day." And I was like, that's so kind of you to say that to this first year teacher who barely knows what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what you see, but thank you for those
Mm.
kind words. And in 2016, I got my first principal job. The rest is history. And she was right. And when she spoke those words over me back in 2008, 2009, I had no idea. The more and more I kept teaching, the more and more I loved it. And the less I cared about going to law school. And when I went into my second year of teaching, that's when I made the decision of like, I like this. I saw the impact that I had on students as a first year teacher, because kids have a cool way of telling you thank you for showing up for them. And that feeling that I had of like, wow, like your impact. And when I became a teacher, I said, hey, I want to be the type of teacher that, I didn't have. And I had some great teachers, but wherever I had gaps, I wanted to make up for those gaps as a teacher. And that was kind of the driving force. But I did not want to do this, fell in love with it. I guess, I had it in me because I grew up in a family of educators. But since that point, and here I am now, so I really think that God called me to do what I am doing now. This was not a part of my plan. And even I have moments now like, why didn't you just go to law school? Like, this job is so stressful. The kids can be crazy. My kids can be crazy. Like, why are you still in the kid business? And maybe I am crazy, but it energizes me. I
Mm.
love what I do. I love to be able to see on this side of leadership now the impact that people can make for kids as a result of the work that I'm doing. So that's the origin story. Didn't want to do this. God had other plans, and my mom's best friend was like, "You need to get your emergency certification." Here we are now.
I hope you sent her some flowers or some chocolates or
Yes, she is a top human. My mentor teacher. When I got the principal job, I emailed her and said, "Hey, you called this, and I don't know what you were thinking then, but God clearly used the Holy Spirit to speak through you to speak to me, and like here I am now." So absolutely, definitely
oh
have
my
given
God.
gratitude to those folks.
Well, and I just think about like, and I think this is true of you, just knowing you for these several years now, of like the power of words and like affirmations. And you're really actually, where they have like all the different love languages. And I don't know if this is true for any of you, but for your professional relationships, like you really do speak kind words to people. Like you are a very generous person with your words, and just and seeing it and saying the thing, which I think is like hard sometimes. Like we think it in our brains, but don't actually say the thing out loud, positive or negative, right? But I'm thinking in this positive lens. And yeah, I think it's really special that like somebody spoke something over you and saw something in you, and they could have kept it to themselves, and how that actually did make such a huge impact in how you saw yourself. Even if you hadn't gone into education, it would at least helped you survive that first year, right? Like I would have killed for some kind words my first year teaching, where I feel like I was just, being strung up by, fingernails, and it was just really hard year. So
It is a
everybody
hard
should be
year.
nice to everybody needs to be.
Words are important, Missy. That's a great point because now just reflecting on this now, just thinking about all of those words, like I was not thinking that in the thick of it. In my
Yeah.
first year of teaching, and kids are going crazy. And kids are also so funny. So like when you're 20 something years old and I'm like, wow, they want me to lead these kids? And kids just say off the wall things and you can't laugh. I had to learn
Mm-mm.
really quick, like, dude, you actually can't laugh. Like this, I there were moments in my first year where I had to go to my desk and like pull it together because I'm like, they're not trying to be funny. They are serious right now. And this is comedy to me right now. So, yeah, words are really, really important. And I guess I do see that play out in my leadership. I do believe in the power of language, the power of words, just life and death and the power of the tongue. And so I try to speak, positively over all situations and people because what else you gonna do? Be negative? Like
Right.
that's exhausting.
That is exhausting. That is. All right. So then you found your way to where you are now, which is at Yellowstone. Which tell us a little bit about Yellowstone. Tell us about your role there, and then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty of like the challenging aspects of it and the proud moments of it. But just for folks who aren't familiar with Yellowstone, tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So I am in my fourth year with Yellowstone, in my third year as superintendent. In Yellowstone schools, we serve kids from pre-K 3 through high school. And we're currently up to 11th grade and we're adding our 12th grade next year. And so in 2027, we'll have our first graduating class. We had a vision that we set some years back to provide a life-changing experience for 750 students on one campus, pre-K 3 through 12th grade. And so that vision is becoming or reaching the point of being realized when those kiddos, when they cross the stage over in Christ Commons, one of the buildings here on our campus. Yellowstone, we are in the Third Ward community. Third Ward, Houston, Texas is one of the oldest African American communities in the city. There's a lot of culture and tradition here in this community. The students that we serve, they come from Third Ward and greater beyond Third Ward on the south end of the city. As I say, we serve grades, pre-K 3 through 11th, almost 12th grade. Most of our students come from generational poverty. Average household for many of our families is 25,000 a year. Um, Yellowstone was founded by two amazing folks who really came to the third world community and saw a need and saw that Christ can move in any community in any part of the world and made the decision to open Yellowstone to do two things. Number one, give students an opportunity to have an encounter with Christ. And number two, to give them an environment that is safe, that allows them to live up to their purpose and their potential. This was back in 2002. And so to be, where we are now, to be celebrating 25 years going into next year, and to be a part of that story as superintendent. I came to Yellowstone as a volunteer on our board education committee, was living a great life at Yes Prep. Yes Prep is the reason why, honestly, I'm in the position that I'm in now in terms of what I've learned as a leader and the mentors that I've had and the folks who I've had the opportunity to work with at Yes Prep, and was happy being there and went to an ed committee meeting, and the meeting opened in prayer. And I was like, wow, besides going to church, I don't know a lot of meetings that I sit in where we open in prayer. And that was a game changer for me. Looking at the core belief of Yellowstone, we believe all students are born with purpose and destined for success. Resonates with me so much because I just believe that kids deserve the best, regardless of your zip code. Kids deserve to have a great school to go to. And so after that one meeting, I went home to my wife and I said, babe, I feel like God is calling me to go to Yellowstone. And I knew the challenges that I would face. And there were a ton of unknown challenges. And I think that that happens with anything that you go into, especially when God calls you to do it. He will not set you up and say, everything is going to be perfect. He's going to tell you what you need to do. And then you're going to go in and be like, whoa, okay, God, you did not tell me I would be dealing with this. And I know we're going to get to
Yeah.
that later. Yellowstone has fundamentally changed my life. I have the opportunity to work with board members who have been supporting Yellowstone and its mission since day one over 20 years ago, who are very locked into this
Yeah.
community and to the work that we're doing. I work with a team of folks who love kids and want to do right by kids. And so Yellowstone is a special place. We have a unique story. We are committed to the Third Ward community, and we are growing and changing in ways that will allow us to continue to serve our students at the highest levels that we possibly can.
Mm. It's like you've said that before. It's so evident that you feel like you found your place, which is really great when you can professionally just like, okay, this is a community I want to invest in. This is a team I want to work with. This is, all the things. You spend a lot of time there. So it's
A
really
lot of
great when
time.
when you like it, when you like it. Okay. So leadership is hard. Leadership can be lonely. Leadership, yeah, it has all the ups and downs that you would expect, and then compounded by the fact that yes, you're working with children who just make things even more interesting. But like the urgency piece of education just makes everything so heightened. So I'm curious to hear what you have found to be most challenging in the role that you're in right now.
I would say the biggest challenge is communicating clarity around expectations and results to various stakeholders. As a
It's a
superintendent,
good
of course,
one.
my job is the board. My job is to report to the board. And they have a responsibility to me to ensure that I'm delivering on the promises that we all have agreed upon to set for our families. And ensuring that the expectations between myself and the board are really clear. The board has clarity on what we want to be true in terms of our goals, and communicating that in a way that is clear in itself is a major challenge, because they have committed their time and resources to this. They're not getting paid. There's no skin in the game for them, for our board members, beyond wanting to do right by our kids. And so they have families and lives and everything that's going on. And it's my job to take very complex things like accountability and STAR and challenges that we may face with enrollment, and explain them in a way where they understand that, so that they can provide what they need to provide for me to do the job. Going from that stakeholder to our staff, right? We have expectations that, our staff, they need to work hard to meet every day. They need to have clarity around the goals and visions and what the targets are. And the way that I communicate to our staff is very different from how I communicate to board. And I am communicating the exact same thing, right? What I'm
Yeah.
saying to the board, I must say to the staff, to our families, our most important stakeholders, and our students. The way that I communicate expectations and what they expect of us and what we expect of them is very different from how I communicate to staff and to our board. And so as superintendent, that's a big part of my job, is just being a clear communicator, communicating with clarity, with urgency, with hope and optimism, and being able to do that sometimes simultaneously on one day, where I'm on the phone with board members talking about this challenge that we're working through. And now I got to go get in front of my principals and talk them through how we're going to actually solve this problem. And so I think one of the big challenges is just bringing all of these stakeholders together, communicating in a way in which everyone is aligned and clear on what the outcomes need to be, and then being able to go out and execute that. But you can't execute when folks don't have clarity and alignment on what the goals are. So I think that's like a big ongoing challenge. I think the hardest part of it is communicating with the board. These are individuals who, most of them, they don't have a background in education. And so you know, I'm a nerd. I will go in and spaz out on data, and I'm thinking, oh, I nailed it. They clearly understand. It's like, no, we actually don't understand what that means. We
Yeah.
need to hear it this way. And me racking my brain thinking, oh, I thought I did communicate it this way. And so it's challenging, hitting the wall a ton of times, because the board, my board chairs, they always tell me we have one employee, and that's you. And so, as their employee, it is important that I am communicating in a way that is clear so that they understand what the outcomes are. And if I can nail it with them, then I can do it all the way down throughout the organization. So I think that part is just communicating with clarity and then managing priorities, because the new climate of education, priorities are shifting every other week. And so, how can I ensure that I am keeping the main thing, but also supporting my team in their priorities so that they know what they're focused on? So, those two things to be succinct: communicating with clarity to assure alignment, and then managing multiple priorities and how we get those things done while focusing on what matters most.
I don't know that I've had any leader come back and say that communication piece has been the most challenging. And not because it's not, I think that is just so reflective of you. Like, that is a huge challenge. I hear it all the time from leaders where they're just like, it comes from a place of frustration because, like, I need to communicate to my board this thing and they're not getting it. And like, I do have an ed background. That has like been all of my professional career. And when I sit in on board meetings, I'm not the data person. I was always the ops person. So even though I'm around this, it is still not like my bread and butter. So I even sit in and going, I don't really quite understand that. Right. Like, and so for people who are even further removed from education, like, yeah, what it takes and the patience that it takes to like walk them through this. We're not insulting your intelligence. Like, you are clearly an intelligent person, but you just, the like academic data is not what you look at day in and day out, or
Right.
understanding like, yeah, like the nuances of hiring or the nuances of behavior or compliance, like all of these things. So that's really astute of you to like see that as a challenge so that you can be intentional about addressing it in an ongoing way.
Well, feedback
Really
is
like
why, I mean, my board chairs are really good about giving me feedback when things are not clear, which I love. Like, of
yeah.
course, getting feedback is always hard, but I mean, it is my responsibility for them. They can't help and aid and assist if they don't understand. And so, that's on me to be really, really clear. But their support and their feedback, and when things are not clear, I've gotten so much growth and development just from our board members. Like, you want to talk about professional development, working with individuals who run major companies who are helping you learn how to be a better communicator. That is a gift that I never thought that I would receive in this role in the way in which I'm receiving it. So it is, it's an ongoing challenge that is always an opportunity to create that clarity that's just necessary.
Love it. That's really cool. Okay. And then, I mean, yeah, and then you mentioned managing priorities. Yeah, preach to the choir, right? Like, every school leader's like, yes, like it's just too much. And it is insane to me, like how much oversight and compliance things and like things that I see get emailed to superintendents where I'm like, really? Really, this is what we want them spending their time on, which is just taking them away from classrooms or developing their
Oh, yeah.
teachers. Or, it is frustrating, and it's just a necessary evil. Like, you just are going to have to do it.
That's a
Like, there's
great
no
way.
way
It
around it.
is a necessary evil. And education jargon and lingo, it's all confusing. And
Oh,
so I can understand why the board is like, wait, what is like, even like on Star, they're like, wait, approaches means they passed, but they didn't pass? Like, it's that little thing right there. And it's like, that's a fair question. Let me explain to you why the state has said that you can approach and that's good, but you're not on grade level, right?
oh my God.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so then what is something that you are proud of in your current work, or in your leadership, I should say. Way of
You
putting it.
know, I'm really proud of. It's funny. I was just meeting with my executive team earlier, and we were stepping back over the previous quarter to highlight something that we're proud of. So this is great timing. There are a lot of things that I'm proud of. I'm proud of the work that I've done with both of our boards. So Yellowstone, because and I didn't mention this earlier, Yellowstone is we're a unique place. We are a public private school model. So our pre-K 3 through fifth grade school is a private Christian school. And then our sixth through 11th grade is a public charter school. So as a result, I have a public board, I have a private board. And being able to build relationships with both of our boards is something that I'm really proud of. It is something that I've had to grow a lot in because I am someone who I love being in classrooms. But sometimes my job requires me to not be in classrooms and to be on the phone, talking to board members, updating them on things, just keeping them in the loop so that they're engaged. And through that process, I've just learned so much. And to hear how board members appreciate just a phone call to be kept in the loop or even a simple email. And that's an area that I had to really learn and grow in a lot. And so I'm just proud in the relationships and the engagement of our board and how supportive they are. I am very proud of our principals. They work extremely hard. Our upper school, which is our public charter, has been going through turnaround for years at this point. We have been working really hard to turn around and improve learning outcomes for all students. And I now have two principals who are super aligned, dedicated to the work, and have done some amazing work this year. So I'm very proud of them. I'm really proud of the executive team, which is a team of three. It's our chief of staff, Amy and Richard, our chief financial and operations officer. We are just very locked in to ensuring that we're doing right by students and families. We've had to manage a ton of transitions. We've had to manage $500,000 deficits. We've had to manage reduction in force because enrollment has been a challenge. And to work on a team where folks stay sane, stay rational, stay committed, have tough conversations. I'm really proud of the team that we have become. Richard came on board last October, and to see, you would have thought he'd been here for years. These folks are just really locked in. And I am someone who values a strong team. I don't believe you can get anything done without a strong and effective team. So I really invest in trying to, build a strong team. And so to work and be a part of a strong or work on and be a part of a strong team, I'm extremely proud of that.
That's awesome. And you do have a really good team. I can second that. I enjoy both of them. And it's so funny. I hope they listen to this because you've got Amy Tanner, who is like high energy, like just boisterous and just perfect for her role. And then you have Rich. It's like this most
The quiet
even
storm.
kill, steady, like they're just polar opposites.
Yes.
And then you're obviously like probably in the middle, just
Yeah, I got a little bit of both.
you got a little bit of both. You have to, I think. But it is so funny to see those two. And I can imagine what y'all's meetings look like, where it's just,
They're very live. Yeah, you should
I
ask Amy
love
about
it.
our meeting today.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so piggybacking on this like idea of being proud of the work that you're doing and again the growth, like those two are pretty, the challenging and the proud have both been kind of board facing, which is really cool. Then now thinking about your superpower and what makes you, James Mosley, like unique as a school leader. What is the thing that you're bringing to the table or bringing to Yellowstone that is allowing the mission of that organization to flourish?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this. I think that so I love to solve problems. I love to look at a problem that's really complex and simplify it. Anytime we're looking at a challenge or a problem that we're trying to solve, the enormity of it can immediately count you out. So my job, I love to be able to simplify a problem and then be able to build a strong team and put systems in place to execute. Like I feel like that is what I'm really good at. When I think back, my first year of becoming a principal at Yes Prep, I was brought there to solve a problem, to turn the school around, to get better results. And in my first year of being there, I told my team, you guys are going to make me an effective principal because I'm new. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know everything about the school. And I inherited a team who had been at the campus for a while and I needed them. And so, I spent a ton of time planning out retreats. I love Patrick Lencioni, so I will read all of his books, which all center around building strong and effective teams, because I know that as the leader, whether you are a superintendent or a principal, my job is to get things done through other people. I can't do everything. And so, in order
Preach.
to get that to be true, then I have to be someone who is intentionally focused on building a strong team. So I feel like that's my superpower. I like putting systems in place. When I, came to Yellowstone, we were in a position where three things needed to be true, which kind of formed what our objectives were. We needed to improve learning outcomes for all students. We needed to stamp our culture, meaning we need to have a culture that anybody that we bring into this culture, they're like, oh, this is what it means to work at Yellowstone. And we need to refine our systems and programs. Like we are a single site. We're not this big system. So there are a lot of things that we may be doing that are not efficient. Like, let's get really, really tight. And so coming in knowing that those, are the kind of big three objectives that need to be addressed, my number one focus was like, who are the people around me? What are the systems that we can leverage to ensure that what we say we're doing, we're going to do? So, Objectives and Key Results, Measure What Matters. It's a great book. Like, it's a system that I put in place here. We use it at Yes Prep, but we use it here at Yellowstone because if we're going to improve learning outcomes for all students, if we're going to stamp our culture, if we're going to refine systems and programs, then what are the things that we need to do to tackle those objectives? And so this OKR system, it's not my system, it's research, but I am someone who operates on systems. So I put this thing in place. So now all of my meetings and check-ins are surrounded by what are our objectives and what we say we want to accomplish. And so that's how I take a very complex problem and make it simple. Here's the problem. Okay, what do we want to solve for? What are the top 2 to 3 things we need to solve for? Okay, what are the steps we're going to take to get it done? Okay, what specific actions do we need to do? All right, who's doing what action? Like, that's my superpower. It's like, hey, here's this big problem. Let's make it simple. Let's put a system in place to ensure that we're tracking this problem. And like, let's focus on building a strong team that leads through their values, that leads through vulnerability, that leads through wanting to get results. I hope I hope it made sense. Um,
It
it's not easy to
definitely did.
question what's my superpower.
That's because y'all are all too modest. That's the why it's hard. Like, if you were to go to any of your team and ask them, hey, what's my superpower? They would be able to speak it for you, probably without
I know
thinking
they were
very
like,
hard.
that's an easy question. I was like,
Yeah.
God, I have to figure out my. They're like, that's an easy question. I'm like,
Yeah.
don't answer
Yeah.
that. Never mind.
Yeah. But answering it about ourselves is always challenging, but it's a good practice. It's a good practice. So would that, because my next question, which I think you started to allude to, is this idea of like a template or a tool or a resource that's regularly helping you hone your superpower or keeping you sustained in this work, which I think is kind of like, goes hand in hand. Like, I think if we're leaning into our superpowers and like our natural wiring and giftings, it allows us to stay in this work longer. If we're taking on too many things that are just like outside of our comfort zone and just like working totally against who we are, or our skill sets, you're just going to burn out, right? Like, I think that's,
Right.
and you make a good point, right? Of like adding and bringing effective people onto your team. Let them do the things that you're not good at so that you can really do the things that you are good at. But okay, so I think you said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
a template that you're using regularly, like when problems come up, is this just a line of questioning in your brain that you're walking through? Is this something that's shareable? I love to share a resource when we can.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about maybe
Yeah. So
a tool.
the way the tool is a tracker. So at the start
Okay.
of every year, we have our objectives and key results and even high impact actions. And each department, they'll load their OKRs into this tracker. And the system, if you will, is every week we're reporting our progress. Are we on track? Are we not on track? And then at the end of a quarter, we say, did we accomplish the things that we need to accomplish, by the end of the quarter? So the tool itself is a tracker. It's really useful also in one-on-one check-ins. I also have a check-in template that I use in my one-on-one check-ins. And I'm sure, most folks in the work have something similar, but I think I love the strengths finder. So I want to know everybody's strengths. That lives in this template. Your
Mhm.
why. So why you do the work, that lives in the template. And then, leadership lessons that you've learned, wins, challenges. So we go through this protocol in our check-ins where when you're sharing a challenge, that now has informed our check-in time, right? Maybe I had some other topics to talk about, but your challenge is like, we can collaborate on this now. So I think the other resource I have is just the one-on-one check-in template that allows the leader who you're checking in with to do some front loading reflection. And then it just creates space for the reflection in the moment and then tactical collaboration going towards the end of the check-in.
I'm stealing it from you. I'm going to steal it from you. We're going to share it because that
Yeah.
sounds great. Because I think I like that too. Is any template that's going to allow somebody to be reminded of their humanity, right? Like that why piece, like what's your why here? What are your strengths? Like outside of this job, like you do have strengths that you could take anywhere. And we're glad that you bring it here because it's coupled with your why. So let's just ground ourselves in that. But then I think I like, and I'm assuming they're tied, right? Like it's like the things that are showing up in the OKR are going to end up lending themselves to the check-ins that you're having one-on-one. And so having that thread too, to where those are living in both places keeps keeps everybody on track and make sure that you're not, not waiting until the end of the quarter to all of a sudden go like, oh wait, what was my objective again? It's like, no. We're looking at this on a regular basis. Okay, listeners, I'll make sure to follow up with James and get that from him. I think that's really good. Okay, James, any other tools, anything else you want to share with us or other leaders in this work before we move into my final question of
Yeah, I
our
think a
chat?
few things that were helpful to me, especially, and again, coming from Yes Prep, we had a system for everything. And so it really set me up for success to come to Yellowstone, where some systems are in place, but there are other places where there are no systems and we need to create them. One thing that has helped me tremendously. So there's a book, Patrick Lencioni, surprise, surprise, Death by Me. This book was fundamental in terms of how I run my weekly tactical meetings. So basically, the way this meeting structure works is you have the template is basically everyone puts their priorities in for the week, so the entire team can kind of see this is what everyone is focusing on, and then you have a space for FYIs and questions. So any question that any teammate may have, they're dropping into this template prior to the meeting. So the death by meeting structure is basically you build one of the practices in the book is build a real-time agenda. So before I started this practice, I would spend 90 minutes trying to plan a meeting agenda. Like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? Or well, I have all of these things, but I hadn't really considered what other folks want to talk about. So the real-time agenda happens when folks are asking questions that cannot be answered in 30 seconds to them. If we can't answer that question in 1 minute, that means we need to drop it down and that's a collaborative topic. So you go through this process where everyone is sharing out their priorities, sharing out their quick questions, support that they need, challenges, and then the agenda gets formed from there. And so every week we're focusing on, and it comes from like looking at the calendar or looking at your priorities, but I'm now solving problems that my folks are dealing with, not just what I think we need to be addressing. So building the agenda in real time based on folks' priorities, questions that they may have, or challenges that they may be facing, that then informs what we're talking about in a tactical meeting, which is, of course, much different from a step back or a strategic planning meeting. So that's one resource. And then the last thing that I would say, I think this is true for superintendents and principals. So all of the principals and superintendents who are watching this episode, I went to a training a few years ago called the Breakthrough Coach. Changed my life. The premise of this training is how the executive or the leader, principal, superintendent, and their executive assistant, secretary, whatever you want, how can they have this relationship that is so great that allows two things to happen? You can have a career and a life, and you can focus on what matters most. So when I talk about, CheckBox Pro and everything, and I haven't even done this training with you or Nicole. Y'all are
That's
just
what
that
I'm
awesome.
saying.
But the whole premise of it is, you, as a superintendent, I have a schedule that I follow. I
Mhm.
have office days and coaching days. 3 days a week, I have office days. Those are the days where I'm in my office, I'm checking in one-on-one, I'm doing all of the at my desk work that has to be done, following up with TEA, whatever the stuff that I really don't like to do but have to do, catching up on emails. I got 3 days a week where I'm doing that. 2 days, so those are my office days. 2 days a week, I have coaching days. I'm out in the field. I'm in every single classroom. I'm observing what's going on. I'm co-observing with principals. But the whole purpose of that is to see, is teaching and learning happening the way that we expect it to happen? And if so, how can we continue to double down on that? And if not, what do we need to be doing between now and the next day to improve instruction? And so I applied that practice, if you will, when I in my second year as a principal. The third year we were nearly an F school my first year. By my third year, we were a B school. And when folks say, hey, how do you do it? I spent so much time in classrooms. I had a tracker and I would see every teacher at least 3 times. As a superintendent, it's a little different. I'm still getting in the classrooms. I may not be seeing every teacher 3 times within the year, but I have seen every teacher. Well, no, I probably have. I'm pretty intense about getting in class. But I know I've seen every teacher at least 2 times in the first semester. So those training, but more importantly, that practice of office and coaching days, if you stick to it. The
Yeah.
reality is things happen. You're and everything that I'm saying, folks, I am not perfect at all. Like, the OKRs, that's a practice. Like, if I'm not making sure I'm hitting that tracker every week, then we're not talking about it. The thing that I love about it is when everything is lost, I still have something I can go and pick up and say, hey, here's the things that we said we're going to do. So it's helpful in that regard. But, you know, as a leader and someone who is a change agent, you can't make change if you're not seeing, if you're not out in the field. And so that practice is something that's still in this role as superintendent. My observation day is tomorrow, and my coach, he'll be here with me tomorrow, and we'll be popping in the classrooms tomorrow. So
Oh, I'm going to look into that. That's really cool. I like that. And I think that's like something we do with a lot of our leaders is trying to figure out, yeah, is it we're designating certain types of days for certain types of work or certain days for certain types of work? Is it that we're breaking our day up, right? Like thinking about energy levels and thinking about just, your wire, right? Introvert versus extrovert, all those types of things, like taking that and being really intentional about how you structure your day so that you can still do all the things and still hopefully, you mentioned before, right? Like your assistant coach on your kiddos like soccer team, like you want to be able to do that. Like you want to be able to like close your laptop, leave a building and feel full and purposeful in the life outside of Yellowstone. And so I think, yeah, having those two married together and being intentional about that and living by it as much as you can helps you feel successful in both areas, which is important.
because if
So,
not, I will go crazy. Like,
yeah,
being
yeah,
a good husband, being a good dad, that's like priority to me.
yeah,
And in order
yeah.
to do that, I have to have things organized in such a way that will allow me. Because, like you said, yeah, I have practice today. So when I leave work, I got to go get ready. I got to go assist. I'm an assistant coach. I assist, right? But I got to be ready to do that. And
Yeah.
I'm joking, but like, that's what I look forward to.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be a dad where my kids are like, yeah, he worked hard and he showed up to the games, right? I want my wife to be like, I don't want her to be like, well, we don't have any time to go out on. No,
Good.
let's get it on the calendar. Let's do what we have to do because life is just too short to be consumed by work when if you follow a practice, you can do
Mhm.
it a different way. I think that's the thing. Like what I am sharing with folks, I didn't make any of this up. I'm not perfect, but I know I can't be effective if I don't apply a practice, right?
Right.
It's just like going and making a layup. Like if I don't put all of the skills together to make the layup, I'm not going to make the layup, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I don't follow my calendar, if I don't get in classrooms on the days where I say I should be, then I'm going home and I'm now pulling out my laptop because all of these other, and that's a part of the work and it happens. But I think,
Yeah.
staying true to my values, wanting to be present, not only at work, but for my wife and my kids, there's a practice, a system that I have to have in place. It's just not going to magically happen. I don't have that ability.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be
I
nice?
know, right?
Awesome. Okay. Final question. You ready?
Okay.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one, James. The hardest one of the episode. In the spirit of my company's name, CheckBox Pro, what is one box, big or small, personal or professional, that you hope to check off today?
Today. Hmm. Well, I've already checked it off, and that's working out. Like,
Oh,
that's the new thing for me also is, working out because I'm in my 40s now and you cannot be playing about getting old. And so, I got to work out.
yeah.
And when I don't work out, is not good. That's the other thing where it's like, I'll also say to your viewers, find your peace. Like this work, no one is going to show up and say, "Hey, thank you for taking out your laptop at midnight and working." No, nobody's going to come pat you on the back for that, right? But
No.
if you're healthy and you look great and feel great, people will notice that. Your family will notice that, right? Your loved ones will notice that. And so for me, yeah, I didn't know if I was going to make it to the gym on time this morning, but I did. I got there and I got my workout in, and that's really really important because that's also how I show up for
Yeah.
work and for my family is like I can't just let myself go.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. And before work is hard. Getting the workout in before the work is show me your ways. Like can't. I like snooze my alarm way more than I should.
It's hard. Sometimes it happens in the evening, but as long as it happens,
Happens. Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Fit it where you can. Well, James, thank you so much for chatting with me today. It's always good to catch up and to see your face, even via a computer screen. But I have loved getting to be part of Yellowstone from afar and seeing all the great work happening. And we are very big fans of all of you over there here at CheckBox Pro. So, but thank you for
Thank you. This was
giving some of
fun.
your time.
I hope it was beneficial, and
Oh,
I'm gonna go ahead and I haven't said Nicole's name. I need to say her name. So Nicole, who also is a part of Checkbox Pro, and who is my EA, she is just phenomenal. And when we talk about my ability to be able to get in classrooms and follow, my coaching and office days, Nicole makes that happen, and she has a whole army of kids herself and other
she does.
leaders across the country that she's working with, and I don't feel like that at all. I feel like when I'm checking in with her, I'm the only person that she's working with, and that's great. So I'm just grateful for Checkbox Pro for everything you, Missy, that you're doing as a business owner and just making sustainable lives for leaders who do very challenging work.
Thank you for saying that. That's the goal. That's the goal. It's a work in progress, but we enjoy it and we like getting to be part of it. So, all right, listeners. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Be on the lookout for some resources from James. He is on LinkedIn, so connect with him there. If you're ever in Houston, pop over and see his school. It's great. It's a beautiful campus. But until next time, have a great day.